Hello, my name is Nolan Powers, and for my MAS 365 signature storytelling project, I'm going to be talking about the issue of border violence. First, what exactly is border violence? Border violence typically occurs at the US/Mexico border, and there's about three main points where these issues typically occur. The first is going to be Nogales, Arizona, which is the Arizona side, Juarez, which is the Texas border, and Tijuana, which is the California border. Next is the border crisis. The border crisis is excessive amounts of violence, whether that involves trafficking, drug trafficking, human trafficking, all that sorts of stuff. And why is this an issue in our community? Border violence does not only affect the border, but the surrounding areas as well. So this also plays an impact into our community as well here in the United States. The U.S. southwest border. Pictured here in the right side is going to be the Nogales slash Arizona border. The southwest border stretches about 2,000 miles along the southern part of the United States, and one of the main crossings that is a Nogales crossing. We are familiar with this as it is about an hour drive south of Tucson, so we do hear about it pretty frequently. So I decided to focus mainly on the Nogales border for this project. Some of the types of issues that go on this side are corruption, kidnapping on the U.S. side, and illegal drug trade. So with the corruption and kidnapping, a lot of people are either taken from either the United States into Mexico and sold for trafficking, or from Mexico coming into United States with illegal drug trade. The Nogales-Mexico border. The border that separates the US from Mexico that's closest to us, like I stated in the previous slide, is going to be the Nogales border. One of the main concerns with border violence is that there has been 365 reported deaths in 2021. That's about one a day in the Nogales side border, the one that is close to us. So that is a very large number to think about, that essentially every day at least one person is dying, and that is super close to us. So this is an issue that we should be concerned about. Another issue is the cause of the deaths are these tunnels. There's been a total of 127 dug down tunnels found near the Tucson sector since 1990, actually. So pictured here to the left is a 30-foot unfinished tunnel near Nogales. This was actually found by Border Patrol agents. These tunnels are typically used to have immigrants cross under the border to just try to avoid going through the actual border itself. So this is an issue because a lot of people are dying from these, and this is a major cause of those deaths that we are seeing in that reported number. Some more types of issues with the United States / Mexico southwest border is street gangs and cartel related issues. These are going to be the issues that you hear most commonly on the news. The cartel related issues in the street gangs, like the big fentanyl bust, big drug bust, stuff like that is what we're typically used to hearing about on the news, and a lot in our own community as well. Why is this an issue? The border gets a bad reputation for being violent and illegal immigrant crossing. The main issue that causes with that the main issue with people crossing is the intention of doing harm. While most people who are crossing the border are crossing with no bad intentions, which I'll get into in the next slide here. My experience. So I actually had the privilege of talking with a local border patrol agent that is stationed here in Tucson, and I was able to gain some more insight on these issues that we do see and hear about on a day-to-day basis. The main thing that he was explaining to me, which really stuck with me and surprised me, is that most people that are actually crossing the border into the United States, they're coming for healthcare and also to get away from domestic violence. Now, I was surprised to find this out because when you hear about on the news, you're mostly hearing about these border violence issues that are happening with illegal immigrants coming in and doing just bad things. But I was able to hear from a firsthand experienced person that this actually is not the case, which I thought was really cool. And I found this surprising because I didn't know that these were the main reasons for so many crossings, just because, you might go around town, you see those border patrol vehicles, and you kind of wonder like, oh, like what are they doing? So I was able to talk to him, and his job is to make sure that these people that are crossing into the United States are receiving like the health care that they like are trying to get, and escape domestic violence. So these Border Patrol agents that are here on the United States side are actually helping with these immigrants and giving them the health care and the service that they do need, which I thought was very important that we are helping the community, whether that is our side in the United States or on the Mexico side. And I think this also makes us realize that we do take being a free country for granted in our healthcare system, because I think it's important that we are helping out those that are underprivileged. How this affects the community. So different ways that border violence does affect the community is it does put a negative outlook on authority. And what I mean by this is when you think of, oh, Border Patrol, they're there capturing these illegal immigrants and sending them back to the country. But in reality, most of the times that is not the case. They are there to help these people and they are providing the care that they need. So I think this does put a negative outlook on authority just by what we hear like going on in the news. We just kind of have we just associate this with like them doing wrong, even though that is not true. This also causes political shifts. What I mean by this as well is the border wall, how there's two different sides obviously to this politically, and this does cause a lot of like uprest in our community about one person stands with this side and one person disagrees. So I think this also goes into when we hear immigration, we can also associate that with the wall, and a lot of people just don't like that, and I think this causes us as a community to just fight, and I don't think that's the right way. This also causes the United States to get looked down upon because of immigration laws and how they treat immigrants. While some ways, yes, are very unethical of how immigrants do get treated, but I think it's also for us important to realize the good that we are providing for these immigrants as well too. The good. So after speaking with the border agent, he said they accept the immigrants for a short time, typically until they are done with any sort of healthcare procedures. So they aren't necessarily staying for a long time, but they are receiving the care they need from the hospitals in our area and then going back to the Mexico side. So this is providing them to get any healthcare procedures they need. And I was pleased to find out that us as a country and a community here in Tucson, we are providing care and the services for the people that are coming. So it may sound bad on the news when you hear about immigrants crossing, but we also have to remember that they are escaping um, very different situations that we aren't necessarily used to. Because at the end of the day, these people are also human and we should be treating them with equal respect. Because as an American, I think it is our service to provide help for those in need. What we can do. Part of this project in my presentation, I did want to talk about stuff that we can do as a community to more ease border violence and to educate others on this topic as well, because I do think it's very important for us being so close to the border that we are all educated on the situation. The first step is easing border violence. For easing border violence is being more open to immigrants that are crossing for necessary reasons, such as the healthcare and medical attention. I think we need to educate more people in our community that these are people as well, and they are just looking for help. They're not here to do harm to us or to our community or to take anything from us. They are just looking for help, as they can come from different backgrounds and domestic violence. They are just trying to escape and do better for them. And I think it's very important to us that we're educated and that we care for these individuals as well too. The next step I think we can take to ease border violence is to modernize ports of entry for a smoother entry into the United States. What I mean by this is going back to my previous slide on the tunnels. We shouldn't have tunnels being made that we should have easier ports of entry for these people who do need the help and the attention. They shouldn't have to fight to be able to get through. They shouldn't have to create tunnels to try to get through. They should be able to get through, especially if they are coming over for medical reasons. So I think it's important to us that we should take it to higher up attention, that we should modernize ports for these people to have access to get the help they need and deserve. I also think that we can, as a community, fund services to better help these immigration services. Like I stated earlier, these Border Patrol agents work very hard, and it's a very hard job. So I think it's important that we appreciate them and we can fund services that help them do their job and just overall create a more seamless process for them as well too. And that is the end of my presentation, and thank you very much.